An all-new logo for the whole Peugeot brand, for the first time used with the all-new Peugeot 308, the third generation of the compact estate or compact hatch. We have both here for you on Autogefühl with Thomas here today. We directly start here in the front with the SW. First time we see it in the front. Actually here, this interesting new grille. Small dots on the inside and they get wider to the outside. So this really centers everything on the all-new logo right here. A very interesting blue-greenish mixed color. The favorite color for me would of course be Vertigo Blue. We know that already from the predecessor. This is the typical Thomas blue in Autogefühl. Yeah, so that's the first time here for the estate. How does the hatch look like and are there any differences? In the front, hatch and estate are not too different actually. This new front grille, this logo in a similar shape was already available in 1960s, but they had a little bit differently from the color design and the hair of the lion was a little bit different in the shape. So yeah, so the lion got a fresh haircut, or was groomed freshly, and therefore it's also a little bit different. So retro style, but modern at the very same time. Well, lions need to be petted and groomed regularly, especially when they are placed at new logos, right? So guys, what do you think about the new Peugeot logo? The 308 is the first car to bear that one. Of course, the following cars will do as well. Tell me your comments right now. Think it's good or bad? Really looking forward to it. The daytime running light, really spectacular here in this vertical shape, and headlamps come standard with LED, optional. You can also see them right here, the matrix LED with an elaborated high beam function. And when the turning indicators are activated in a spectacular way, they replace the daytime running light, this vertical style. Wow, that looks really fancy. And these are the turning indicators here in the rear. 4 meters 37 or 172 inches is the length here of the 308 hatch. It's a little bit grown in length and also grown in wheelbase. This will have an effect on the rear seating. Wheels come from 16 to 18 inch. These ones here are the biggest 18-inch wheels, and both in the side profile and in the rear, unlike in the front, the hatch and the estate are really different. Here the hatch has the typical C shape here at the back window. This could be painted a little bit better. I think here just the high gloss you just have at the lower end. So this is a crucial difference. And the really spectacular rear we can see right there. They worked on the structural rigidity of the chassis, by the way. We will soon see that while driving. And here, these new tail lamps, very modern, beautiful structure. And the hatch has this black part that goes all the way across the vehicle, connects the two tail lamps. It will be different in the estate, showing you very soon. And especially if you look from here to the side, actually, that's a very interesting shape they have here. So actually a sculptural work, however. Autogefühl fake exhaust police alert, because this one here, pure fake exhaust graphic. Yeah. And 4 meters 64 or 183 inches for the estate model, the SW or SW, as the French would say. So 27 centimeters or 11 inches longer than the hatch version. And I think really interesting, they do differ quite a lot. Not so much in the front. We also have the 18-inch wheels here and also the new Peugeot logo at the side profile right there. Then this one here has roof rails, and you can see here in this area, this is really different. So whereas the hatch more had the C shape, here we have a more dynamic shape for the station wagon. That's really interesting. And the really sharp design lines right here. And the differences will be even more interesting in the rear. But what do you think here about the design for the 308? Would you go for the hatch or here for the estate? Tell me in the comments. Come closer for the rear of the estate. Wow, look at that. I mean, this integrated rear wing, it's almost like a ducktail of a sports car or something. Adrian just told me that, hey, doesn't it look like a Ferrari 812 or something like this? Adrian will join me later also for the driving part. Yeah, I think you can really argue about that, but I think this integration of the wing is very well done. And this is totally different here with the estate if you compare it to the hatch. The lamps here, however, tail lamps are actually the same. Then we have in the GT version or GT pack this contrasting lower part here. So overall, I think design-wise, especially with the estate, I think they really nailed it. Well, what's your take here?
And now coming to the interior part, let's take a short comparison look. First here, the outgoing model, the 308 second generation, and one of the main competitors, the Seat Leon, here as FR trim. And finally, the all-new Peugeot 308, where we can see a clearly more sophisticated interior design comparing to the predecessor, and also better build quality.
The key fob form itself is not really new, but it also features the new logo right here. And you know, famous Autogefühl test here, door closing sound. That's really solid. Sounds very nice. As for seats, today we have first of all the Allure seat with fabric and leatherette. Then basically the same form goes with the GT, but the GT has microfiber accentuations together with some fabric, and the, let's say, plain GT seat here is normally finished in the front like this with microfiber, no lengthenment, whereas in the GT pack, so that's an even higher trim, here the basic same seats, but then the front part you have this additional element, and by this you can make the front part even a little bit longer or then push it in again, and that is really good, especially if you're taller. By the way, also this one really soft, but it's all leatherette, so no animal material used for the seats. And indeed, the GT pack seats to me bring most comfort, even though they are all somewhat same in the form, Allure, GT and GT pack. Due to this additional element, and also the nice microfiber surface, to me it just brings most comfort, especially for taller drivers. So I really feel, very good right here. Steering wheel, up and down, in and out. This, doesn't feel too good. However, all prototype vehicles here are very early stage vehicles today, so we hope this can be still fixed. But definitely very good seating position. The question is, what about the rest of the interior? Of course, really unique, this iCockpit. Interior overview here with this steering wheel. We know a little bit, some kind of from the 508. Really cool, gaming alike. New assistance systems also with semi-autonomous level 2 functions that will be coming up. GT badge right here because it's a sporty version. Then the digital instruments, they come in 10-inch, either 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional. Hard to pick it up on camera, but it's kind of like 2 layers, really interesting. And you can also switch some of the views on the inside. On the right side here, also 10-inch infotainment system here now, Apple CarPlay integration or Android Auto, also wirelessly. And then these are 5 hotkeys here. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another home button. And this is optional, coming beginning from the Allure trim level and here also in the GT trim level. And this is actually a very interesting idea. They're really large, so you can press these and then you directly hop to that. And there's still this old trick with a 3-finger system when you are inside the Peugeot system here. When you're somewhere around 3 fingers, will always go back to the main menu. And then there are also some hard keys here in the lower end, for example, to access the climate menu. This is always the case, and these then here are optional. The only thing is that they collect a lot of fingerprints and stuff. And good to have the volume knob still here in a manual way. In the lower end, you have here the shifting lever that saves space, and also for the driving modes to switch, for example, to sport mode. Then you have a USB charger here, but also inductive charging pad in the front part. Cup holders are adaptive. And last but not least, you have here this armrest, and that can be opened in a split way and with another USB charger. And close up here, infotainment system. Once again, these hotkeys are really kind of fancy, and they're also, they don't have a haptic feedback, but the acoustic one. And climatization then is like this. And this is of course somewhat a problem while driving, not too easy to do that. So I would have preferred manual climate knobs at some point, like the manual volume knob. So that's my criticism point. The sat-nav, actually, it's definitely a step forward. You can see here how fast it is, but here the pinch and zoom could definitely be a little bit more responsive. But overall, a big step forward here, and the Apple CarPlay integration is also quite nice. And there's also the focal sound system here. And, well, let's go with here. And we actually have a quite decent sound here. We've heard better ones, but of course also definitely worse ones. Focal sound system, definitely if you are a music lover, should go for that. Easy to go back here and to go to the home menu. Once again, right here. This is maybe not the best as for the overview, but here you can have this more classic menu. And in the hybrid, you also have an energy meter right there with some interesting illuminations. There you can see when you have the hybrid version, also front-wheel drive only. So this is a pure front-wheel drive platform so far, at least. So it also powers then the front wheels. And here you can also go to these e-save modes that you can save battery for later or even charge it while driving. Of course, that's not so efficient. Now to the rear compartment, and the question is also difference hatch, der Berlin as the French say, and also with the Estate. How is it different? First of all, doors here are hard pack at the inside at the rear, but that's in this segment also quite common. And then here in the hatch, the let's say smaller version, the wheelbase actually is a little bit shorter here, but the knee room here, knee space, is the same both for hatch and Estate. That's very interesting because the longer wheelbase for the Estate goes only in the trunk. So it does work here with 1.86 or 6.1 with two tall adults directly behind each other. This seat is set to my driving position because they have, you know, this recess here, back of the seat, so it works with the knees. But just when I hold them a little bit to the inside, to the outside, they hit it right there. And headroom, yeah, exactly fits. Overall, it's actually quite okay, but yeah, again, with the knees, when I hold them to the outside, they hit it here. Have to put them here in the inside, not the most comfortable position. But the difference is definitely to the predecessor that you now have more legroom in the hatch version. And you here have some cup holders, non-adaptive though, and two more USB-A supplies. Let's now get to the back of the Estate. And it has 5.5 centimeters or 2 inches more wheelbase than the hatch. However, that all went into the trunk, Peugeot said, and indeed the legroom is actually kind of identical here in the Estate version and also in the hatch. I can just prove that. So you don't gain more rear comfort or something. It's nothing special here in the rear. Headroom is a little bit more than in the hatch, but that's about it. So the Peugeot 308, definitely a gain in legroom if you compare hatch with this predecessor hatch. But here for the Estate, not much has changed. But material-wise and so on, and the whole quality impression, that's really good. And also the whole glass insulation all over the vehicle, that has been improved. I really wonder how much difference we can feel later when driving. And trunk comparison, starting here with the hatch. Interesting that it's hidden here. The button is hidden right there. And this is really exclusive to the hatch. So over 400 liters here, whereas the Estate is at over 600 liters. And here the length is around 30 inches or 77 centimeters. Let's put the backpack inside, you can really see it right here. But overall, I mean, very good already for a compact hatch. And here, just some space underneath. Of course, then you can also fold the seats. Now the trunk of the Estate, around 200 liters more if you compare it to the hatch, so more than 600 liters. And you might remember with the hatch, we were at around 77 centimeters, so look at that, you know, like between 30 and 31 inches. And here, this is what we have more in trunk. So this part here, this is what is more in trunk now at 40 inches or just more than a meter, and that of course makes you more flexible. And then let's put a backpack inside here. Easily fits, of course, so really cool. The plug-in hybrid version will a little bit lose here in liter space, by the way, so that's the only catch, but it's actually totally fine. Then also good with the Estate, you can here fold the seats from here. That's an easy solution, and see here directly fold flat. Yeah, that's really good, and another reason to go for the Estate if you need that flexibility. Engine time, you'll have a 1.2 liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine with 110 or 130 horsepower, the one you can see here at the moment. This is, by the way, here for charging the battery while being here in the studio all day. Then you have a 1.5 liter diesel, also with 130 horsepower, and last but not least, a 1.6 liter turbo petrol engine made it to an electric motor. And this plug-in hybrid will have 180 horsepower, or in the GT, 225 horsepower. And if you have the plug-in hybrid, by the way, 12 kilowatt hour battery. It's a known PHEV system here from the French corporation, and they have around like 40 kilometers, 25 miles of electric range. We're starting our driving part here with a new Peugeot 308 station wagon, 5.5 centimeters longer in wheelbase than the hatch, so most of the stuff we say will both count also for the hatch. So this is very interesting because to me it feels a little bit like the 508, so the more grown-up model. AJ is joining me for the driving part here, so always great to have comments also as a passenger, and of course you just see more with 4 eyes definitely. So the first thing I noticed driving the new version here, the noise insulation is better now, although this still has some camo wrap, which is not the best for the noise behavior and stuff. But definitely a little bit more silent in here, that's definitely a step ahead. While driving, I think, by the way, the 3D instrument they look cool, but I'm not sure, AJ, how do you think about it? To me, it's just a fancy stuff, but I don't really need it while driving. It's kind of distracting to me, at least.
Well, I think this is a different type of 3D. It's a very simple prism projection type of 3D rather than a stereoscopic 3D. So I like it. I think it's fun. Maybe I like the whole video game sci-fi kind of vibe that it has, and I really like Peugeot with their design. They do things differently. I know German cars are more maybe conservative, and that's going to be the safer
Jawohl,
design.
we are conservative.
But it's okay to do things just because it looks cool. I always appreciate things where they are done for the sake of looking cool. So I think I would learn to live with that. But how do you feel about the visibility with the steering wheel? That's always been a bit of an
that's still an issue. So I would have to have that steering wheel in this position for best maneuverability. But still, I have to. At least it reminds me, like, oh, Thomas, put your spine up and don't crouch down like this. Mm-hmm. So, but still, it's a thing. Then it's blocking. But they do it in this position, this iCockpit, because then they don't have to do a head-up display. That it's more like in your line of sight. But to me, as a tall person, it's kind of very close. Definitely, yeah. So let's talk about that engine. This 225 horsepower plug-in hybrid. So this is the system output. So the strongest one they have available. And of course, cool is we always have the charging. You can also see it here on the camera. When I lift my foot off throttle, always in this charge area. A little bit delayed though, how this digital arrow goes. So now on the brakes, even more recuperation. It doesn't recuperate harshly. There's also the B mode I can put in, then it's stronger recuperation. Yeah, but it's not set on the one pedal driving feeling or something like that. However, the acceleration is actually quite decent because you have power of both drivetrains. We also have these driving modes, and then I can put it in the sport mode, and then we also hear and feel the petrol engine is on now. Before that, there are so many situations where we drive just all electric. Mm-hmm. And here now, when, for example, at 50 and I hit the throttle.
But the engine doesn't sound very sporty in the sport mode. And this is the GT pack.
Yeah. No, it doesn't sound sporty at all. Also, suspension is actually quite soft still. So when I do some left-right, you see suspension does shake up. Yeah. So this is not the emphasis of this vehicle. It's more like the comfort. And I think rolling comfort and stuff is actually quite good. Yeah. So we don't feel the bumps and stuff in our lumbar area or something. It's also a known drivetrain. It has been there in so many other models of Peugeot before, so we know it, and it's also proven tech. Not the highest all-electric range though. So far it's always maximum of 40 kilometers or 25 miles or something. Yeah, but overall I think this will probably be the most interesting version to go for. What we've done now is we came from the plug-in hybrid, 1.6 liter, 4-cylinder petrol engine plus electric motor, all front-wheel drive, 225 horsepower. Now switched to a more, let's say, basic version. This is the 1.2 liter 3-cylinder petrol engine with 130 horsepower, and also not the GT anymore, but the Allure. So we also have these fabric seats here instead of the sport seats with microfiber. So, and the bright ceiling. So a lot of differences now. The question is, how does this one drive now?
So, acceleration, not great, but the engine sounds a lot louder.
Yeah,
of course,
this 3-cylinder sounds actually quite interesting. It's unique, right? I would say, I'm not sure if you share my opinion. If you want to save some money, don't want to get the plug-in hybrid because of the higher entry price, I think this engine will be absolutely fine, right, power-wise?
Yeah, as long as you don't expect to be doing 170 on the German Autobahn and then put your foot down and feel that surge, then no. It's going to lose wind around 130, and then beyond that, it's really struggling. It's out of breath. But yeah, like I said, within the city and on country roads, it's fairly plenty.
AJ is turning it up now. Woo! What do you think about the handling in the corner,
It feels light. It's the combination of the lighter steering wheel, I guess, it's also a pretty sharp rack. I mean, it's very agile.
I think this like the small steering wheel.
Small steering wheel.
It's just so much fun. It's like this go-kart feeling.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I was not expecting. I mean, the plug-in hybrid, electric power, instant torque, 225 horsepower. It's expected that it's a little bit sprightly. But here, yeah, so roll-on acceleration is not great. Definitely at 110 kilometers per hour, and you floor it, you get that 3-cylinder thrum, and roll-on is not that great. But at slower speeds, it's still pretty sprightly. It's got good pick-up and go. But let's talk about that steering wheel again. It's such an interesting, quirky shape. It's a, what does they call it? Squircle? Because it's like a square and a circle together. It's squircle.
Can you see like above it when you're a little bit shorter than
I'm
me?
a little bit disappointed. You're right. The 3D sounds, looks fun, sure. But even this, which is not 3D, I just cannot see I can't see the speed.
You need to put the steering wheel lower, so there's no other. You still have some space. That's possible.
I can move it
Please
lower.
Don't do this at home. Don't adjust the steering wheel while driving. It's not that good.
This is only in professional hands.
It's a prototype, and
Yeah. But with the steering wheel all the way low,
doesn't look too bad though.
it's not that comfortable.
Do you think? You don't have to put your hands that high, so.
Yeah, I can hold it like this, but then I feel like I'm driving a shopping cart.
Always like at 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, right?
Yeah, and now this feels a little bit too low for me. But this is the only way I can actually see the dash.
How low can you go?
How low can it go? Well, yeah.
So we now switch to the second generation 308, the new one, the third generation. So this one then here, the predecessor of the new model. Very interesting because at first, we kind of thought, it's more an evolution, not that much change. But when you really sit in the older model, the changes are really more crucial. So noise insulation-wise, this one is way louder. How did you feel that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think just again to show how the new 308 is so much quieter.
Yeah, and steering is also, really small and so on. This is not the biggest change, I would say. However, the new one, the new 308, more feels like a little smaller 508, and this also speaks for how more sophisticated this new model is. The instruments are also a little bit more present, better to read than in this one. The position, however, is somewhat the same. Of course, fancy infotainment system. And one of the main changes to me is the seating comfort in the new one is way better, especially with these sports microfiber seats. These have the best comfort. Here, especially like the position with the foot and so on, I feel somewhat cramped. Like the basic layout, definitely. Also like with this Peugeot iCockpit, how they call it. It's really like next phase, next level. But the whole impression you get from driving the car, definitely, that really feels like a step, like like you would go into another segment or something, because the new one is just so much more sophisticated, somewhat. So this was really interesting. Also tune in to more competitor episodes, because we have a video of the Golf Alltrack. That's the Golf Estate in a special version. You should check out this video, and also full reviews of the Seat Leon, or maybe also our playlist of Peugeot vehicles in general, where you can also see reviews of the 508, because some people might think between 308 and 508, this is also a very interesting comparison.